催いたします。ぜひご参加くださいませ。それでは、イベント開始まで今しばらくお待ちくださいませ。Thank you for your participation to the event on India's G20 Presidency, Important Development and Initiatives Today. 本日は G20 議長国インド特別イベント重要な成果とインドの取り組みについてにご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。First, may I invite His Excellency Mr. Shivi George, Ambassador of India to Japan, to make opening remarks. はじめに、駐日インド大使、シビ・ジョージ閣下より、開会のご挨拶をいただきます。
Distinguished guests, dear friends, welcome to Embassy of India in Japan. We have assembled here today as part of the series of events that the Embassy is organizing to brief the Friends of India on the ongoing G20 meetings in India. As you are aware, India has assumed the G20 Presidency on December 1, 2022 at a challenging time when the world is looking at the G20 with a lot of hope. You are all aware that the G20 brings together the 20 major economies of the world. They represent 85% of the global GDP, 75% of international trade, and 2/3 of the world's population. In addition, participants in the group include the major international organizations like the UN, WTO, WHO, World Bank, IMF, ILO, ASEAN, African Union, International Solar Alliance, CDRI, etc. As the host, this is also India's prerogative to invite guest nations. We have exercised that right in respect of UAE, Bangladesh, Mauritius, Egypt, Nigeria, Oman, Singapore, the Netherlands, and Spain. So this is a gathering of an extraordinary importance and one that in many ways unparalleled in India's history. There are almost 200 meetings at various other levels other than the summit and the foreign ministers meeting, from ministers and officials to domain experts, civil society, and of course the youth. G20 meetings are held not as a Delhi-centric set of events, but one that is celebrated across the width and breadth of India. It enables the world to know better the fullness of India's extraordinary diversity and rich heritage. To quote our External Affairs Minister, it will make the world more India-ready and make India more world-ready, unquote. India has taken some important initiatives under its presidency, such as setting up of a new working group on disaster risk reduction and a Startup 20 engagement group. These initiatives are aimed at addressing some of the world's most pressing problems and finding innovative solutions to them. Dear friends, in today's event, we will introduce another important initiative that we have recently launched, the G20 Digital Innovation Alliance, which is aimed at promoting digital innovation and entrepreneurship and fostering greater collaboration and cooperation between G20 countries in this area. We believe that digital innovation is key to achieving sustainable development and inclusive growth, and we are committed to working with our G20 partners to further this goal. We will hear more about this in a subsequent presentation by Mr. Jitendra Vijay, CEO of MeitY Startup UP Hub. As India takes at the helm of G20, we are committed to working with our partners to promote economic growth and development and to find innovative solutions to the world's most pressing problems. We believe that the G20 has a critical role to play in shaping the future of global economy, and we are committed to working with our partners to build a better, more sustainable future for all. This is the second meeting of the G20 that the Embassy is organizing here in Tokyo to spread the message of G20. We have a message from our G20 Sherpa, which we will telecast a little while from now. We look forward to meeting you in our forthcoming G20 meeting sessions, which we do in this embassy again. I would like to conclude by mentioning the Global South Summit that India hosted earlier this month. In his inaugural address at the summit, Honorable Prime Minister of India said that together the Global South can produce new and creative ideas. These ideas can form the basis of our voice in the G20 and other forums, unquote. He spoke about a global agenda of respond, recognize, and respect and reform. Respond to the priorities of the Global South by framing an inclusive and balanced international agenda. Recognize the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities applies to all global challenges. Respect sovereignty of all nations, rule of law, and peaceful resolution of differences and disputes. And four, reform international institutions, including the United Nations, to make them more relevant. Dear friends, I invite you also to join the special event Glimpses of the Voice of Global South Summit that we organize in the embassy on this Wednesday, February 1. Once again, thank you for joining the special meeting on India's G20 presidency. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you, sir, for your remarks. Next, we will have remarks by Mr. Amitabh Kant, India's G20 Sherpa. He gave a message to us through video. Please see the screen for the video message. 続きまして、インド G20 シェルパ、アミターブ・カント様からのご挨拶となります。今回、ビデオメッセージをいただきましたので、スクリーンをご覧くださいませ。
And challenging environment. The world today is faced with several crises: the climate crisis, slowing progress on SDGs, COVID crisis, the debt crisis, geopolitical crisis, and issues around food, fuel, and fertilizer. But with India G20 presidency, we see these complex challenges as an opportunity for us to get the world to unite on acting upon these challenges and to drive global consensus. India is a G7 partner of BRICS and Quad member, the SCO and G20 presidency, is in a unique position to offer lasting and meaningful solutions to collectively address global concerns, acting as a bridge between developing countries and advanced economies. It must be our endeavor to ensure an inclusive, ambitious, decisive, and action-oriented G20 presidency, as our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has said. To make this happen, we need the support of all. The priorities of the presidency aim to shape an inclusive, sustainable global future and further aims to share India's best practices across sectors. Some of the priorities include technology transformation and digital public infrastructure, women-led development, multilateral institutions for the 21st century, and 3 F's: food, fuel, and fertilizers, accelerated, inclusive, and resilient growth, life, green development, climate finance, and accelerating progress on sustainable development goals. India's G20 presidency will have a key focus on embedding sustainability, climate change, and green development across working groups of Sherpa track and finance track. India is also moving from accelerating progress on SDGs to delivering on sustainable development goals through action-oriented outputs and outcomes as part of working group delivery. India sits at a unique leadership position to drive climate-oriented outcomes, given its ambitious domestic climate target and its international stature in climate leadership. India is the only G20 in the top 10 rankings of the Climate Change Performance Index, further providing strong climate leadership to fellow G20 members, and can also act as the voice of Global South for global climate agenda. Through its presidency, India will aim to explore synergies across its working groups on the topics of climate finance, accessible alternative fuels such as green hydrogen and biofuels, climate resilient infrastructures, circular economy, and decentralized renewables. We also plan to take the unique India's digitalization model to the world. Digital infrastructure has now become indispensable to society. The next generation technologies such as AI, cloud computing, IoT, and blockchain, amongst others, are all based on a digital backbone. The presidency will explore areas of collaboration across these domains. India is one of the world's best digital public infrastructure models, and the presidency will further aim to strengthen its competency by exploring action-oriented synergies across working groups, while collaborating with other G20 nations on the topics of mutual interest. Ladies and gentlemen, globally, India's digital model provides a unique model of being open source, open APIs, and being interoperable. Globally, 4 billion people do not have access to digital identity. 2 billion remain unbanked, and 133 countries do not have digital payment systems. India has achieved 50+ years worth of digitalization progress in just a decade and has helped countries with its best practice. We look forward to supporting all the countries in the South in this movement. Ladies and gentlemen, women-led development is critical. More than half of the world's population now comprises of women. This is a historic trend and should catalyze women-led development across spheres of society. India's focus on women-led development can act as a model for the world, and the presidency will further this cause through enabling action-oriented synergies across working groups of shared finance strategy. India and its G20 presidency is also working collaboratively across tracks to ensure gender equity. The working groups across tracks aims to ensure that gender considerations are mainstreamed into G20 discussions and translated into the G20 leaders' declarations as policies and commitments that foster gender equality and women's economic empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, the coming decade is poised to be India's decade. With the G20 presidency at hand, India is also expected to be the voice of the global South. Ladies and gentlemen, India is today the world's 5th largest economy and will be the 3rd largest by 2030. There is strong growth across manufacturing and exports of goods. India has encompassed a strong macroeconomic fundamentals. We are the top global destination for FDIs, and we have a robust framework for public finance. We are a global leader in climate action, and we have a proven digital transformation model. More than 67% of India's population is in the working age group of 50 to 64 years, and more than half of India's population now comprises of women. Ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to a very decisive and action-oriented G20, and we look forward to a very close partnership with Japan, which is the G7 presidency for this year. And along with Japan, we look forward to providing good action-oriented leadership to the world. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Now we will play a video on the G20 Digital Innovation Alliance that India has launched during its presidency of the G20. This will be followed by a presentation from Mr. Jitendra Vijay, CEO of Startup Hub, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. Please see the screen for the video. 次に、インドが中継
The group of 20 represents around 85% of the global GDP, over 75% of the global trade, and about 2/3 of the world population. Led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India, in its year of G20 presidency, aspires to bring humanity together to help shape a new paradigm of sustainable globalization inspired by the traditional philosophy of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, or One Earth, One Family, One Future.
भारत की G20 अध्यक्षता इंक्लूसिव, एम्बिशियस, डिसिसिव और एक्शन ओरिएंटेड होगी.
With the world fast adapting to digital innovations, India is inviting global startups and innovation from all G20 member initiatives in 6 sectors under Digital Innovation Alliance. The G20 Digital Innovation Alliance Summit will be held in the city of Bengaluru and will see global speakers, startups, unicorns, industries, corporate and the government aiming to showcase digital solutions for various world economies. The summit will not only celebrate the startups but find transformative digital solutions that are needed for the betterment of economies and the upliftment of humanity. Transforming billions of lives across the globe, the Digital Innovation Alliance is a decisive step towards equitable growth for one and all, with the vision to create a futuristic, prosperous, inclusive, and developed society at its core.
Now, I would like to request Mr. Jitendra Vijay, CEO, Startup Hub, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, to give a presentation on G20 Digital Innovation Alliance. He will be giving presentation virtually from India. Please see the screen. 続きまして、インド政府電子情報技術省スタートアップハブ CEO ジテンドラ・ビジャイ様より G20 デジタルイノベーション同盟についての講演をいただきます。オンラインでのご参加になりますので、スクリーンをご覧ください。
Before we launch into it, first thing is, where is India today? What are we doing as a startup country? So as many of you might be aware, India is the 3rd largest startup ecosystem in the world. More than 80,000 startups that are innovation driven are registered in India. And it is forecasted that by 2025, there'll be more than 100,000 startups that will be enabling benefits through our platforms. Now, these startups have been making a lot of contribution across various sectors and really providing impetus for the economic and social development of India. More than 100 unicorns are there, and it is forecasted that number will exponentially increase over the next coming decades. Now, having said that, what is Ministry of Electronics and IT doing? So currently, just for our audience's understanding, Ministry is focused on 2 things. One is developing the electronic and hardware startup ecosystem, as well as working on digitization drive across India, because we strongly believe that a digitally connected citizenry is empowered citizenry, and they can really engage and contribute to the economic and social development of the country. Today, we have more than 26 centers of excellence focused on deep tech areas of AR, VR, gaming, hardware, blockchain, IoT, Industry 4.0, etc. We are funding more than 51 incubators and 26 centers of excellence plus 22 accelerators. So more than 100 of these assets are created across India through our ministry. And we are providing funding to startups all the way from idea level to fund-of-fund hyper-growth level. We also work very closely with corporates as well as other ministries and international partners. We have international startup exchange programs with France, Germany, UK. We are launching in Saudi Arabia as well in the near future. So our goal is that the innovation and co-creation should be inclusive, and startups from all over the world should be able to collaborate with each other for market access, as well as access to the investors and for trial opportunities. Now, within the G20 framework, as our Honorable Prime Minister says, Yes, G20 is about inclusivity, it's about action-oriented, and it's being decisive. So what started in Indonesia as a digital innovation network last year, we are taking it to the next level and carrying on that legacy and building upon it. And our goal is that next year when Brazil takes over the presidency, they'll be able to build on this further as an ongoing project. So the goal of G20 Digital Innovation Alliance is to identify high quality startups from all 20 G20 nations plus 9 invited members on the 6 sectors that are critically important to the humanities development, be it in the agri-tech space, health tech space, ed tech, fintech, secure digital infra, and circular economy. And we'll be inviting all of them to come to Bangalore in India in August on the summit. Now, as we discussed, these are critically important sectors because if you look at what India did in terms of healthcare during the times of COVID pandemic, we were able to launch our COVID app and had billion people vaccination record on a single platform. As we heard from G20 Sherpa in terms of fintech, India is leading the digital payment ecosystem through our UPI network. We talk about education in times of COVID when schools were shut, colleges were shut. EdTech became a really important parameter to provide education to people and kids in their home so that they don't fall behind. And all these topics are of critical importance to the world because, as we heard, 1/3 of the world still suffers from decline. And unless we provide connectivity and enable our global citizenry to engage through digital technology platforms, we will not be able to provide inclusive, sustainable, and equitable growth opportunity for all the people. Now, so we'll be taking top startup from all the 29 nations, 6 sectors, so 174 startups will be selected. And we are requesting that each of the nations run their own selection process and provide us a final list of their startups by May 15, so that we can launch it to the next phase of the program. The idea is that from May 15 till August 15th, there will be virtual programming, capacity building sessions, networking programming for startups. And then, so when they come to Bangalore in India in August, they'll be able to come up with outcomes. So it's not only about showcasing startups, it's about enabling them to grow through collaboration with their partners. Now, so these startups, once they are selected at the end of May, so for in June, July, and August, we'll run sessions for all 174 of them, where there'll be expert mentoring sessions. There will be sessions to connect them to customers through the network. There will be sessions around getting them funding through investors and other programming that will be done for all 174 of them. Also, during the 3-day summit that will be hosted in August, it's going to be around showcasing the innovations that all of them have. There will be unicorns invited, not only from India, but rest of the world as well. There will be global speakers. There will be pitching events. And our goal is that many of these startups will receive some funding at the conclusion of the program as well. Now, what we are doing is that we are actually, to make it inclusive and high impact, we are onboarding partners across various categories. So we are onboarding outreach partners, be it Google and Meta, so that we can have maximum coverage across the world for this program. We are creating a technology platform which becomes a virtual asset where all the mentors, investors, and startups are onboarded, and that platform becomes a repository of and a platform for exchange of innovation, ideas, and investment. And that asset will eventually transfer to Brazil next year so that they can keep adding more and more ecosystem stakeholders on that network. We are also launching Knowledge Partner Series, coming up with white papers, articles, etc., for wider dissemination of these topics for our general education and awareness perspective. Also, we are looking at gamification of the startup ecosystem and working with various partners on developing board games as well as virtual games around the whole startup innovation ecosystem that exist in all these countries. Now, as our Honorable Prime Minister says, G20 for India is about one earth, one family, one future. So it is our humble request from our friends in Tokyo, in Japan, and our mission there, that let's all work together, let's come up with ideas, solutions, and let's engage the startups so we can have maximum participation from your country in this program, and we can all work together to come with solutions that not only benefit our own economies, but provide development and social support to the rest of the humanity. Thank you so much. For more information, you can follow on our various social media handles, and we look forward to working with you and collaborating to create something big and impactful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we will conclude the event on India's G20 Presidency, important developments and initiatives. Thank you very much for your participation today. 以上をもちまして、本日のイベント G20 議長国インド特別イベント重要な成果とインドの取り組みについてを終了とさせていただきます。本日はご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございました。We will have a networking session with light refreshment at Hoyer, just outside of this venue. Please join us. この後、軽食とネットワーキングセッションをこの会場を出てすぐのホイヤーで開催いたしますので、ぜひご参加くださいませ。Thank you very much for your participation today.